So on the basis of that, we should be able to spot one of these. No, it's not possible to spot any questions. You would have to prepare all 6. I'm just thinking about the honors where they give you 3 and you only have to do 2 from it. You have to prepare all 6 questions. Now, I don't know how you will go about preparing these questions. I don't know if people are going to share the load. I can't tell you how to do it. But I think people that have worked in groups together will have a clear sense of what the other people are capable of. And maybe that's an option. Having said that, I think there's not too much trouble here. Can someone remind me, is this a take-home exam?
Yes, it is.
Take-home.
Okay. So yeah. So there are a couple of things that we need to look at in terms of prepping for this. The first one, if we read the case study, and I remember the case study clearly, I think there's definitely a suggestion around, in my mind, there's some critical leadership, critical management stuff in there. And then, and again, now I'm talking blind. I really cannot remember. But I also think there's a bit of an organizational, cultural issue going wrong here. I also think that it lends itself to some sort of change management, because where the organization is now is completely deficient. So those are the kinds of focus areas that I would imagine are likely to essentially be in the questions and would be covered in the questions. Now, the way I would attack each of these is very simple. I would go to the slides, and I would obviously have my slides in a single, I would have the slides in a single folder. Now, let us assume that the first question talks about critical leadership. I think the simplest way to do it is to then search for critical leadership, and so we'll see which one, theme 2, critical leadership. So it's going to be one of those, and there shouldn't be any issue. I'll give you a chance in a second, Kim. Let me just see what opens here. Okay, my PDF is a little bit slow. And then you should be able to find in there critical leadership. I think in terms of what we see there's definitely some sort of reference to the idea of issues with gender being treated differently, with questions of race, etc. So I know in here you should have been able to look for gender-based critiques, and on the basis of those, that will give you a guideline of where to find the answers. Now, I know that it's a silly way of doing it, but the truth is, what happens often is people get under pressure and they simply can't find the answers because of time constraints, etc. So for me, that is the way to search for these things. I would do a simple Control F in my, or search in my folder for the strategic management and leadership. And then from there, I would then do a further search. Kim, go for it. We can't hear you, Kim. no problem, Kim, and we will give you a chance then. Key in terms of this, okay, let's just wait for Kim to come back. Okay, guys, while we wait for Kim to come back, key in terms of this exam is the integration of the theory and the application. I've seen to, okay, Kim, you're back. Please have your chance.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
So are you sharing content, or my screen is black?
Oh, no, I definitely am sharing content.
I don't know why I can't see it. I don't know what I'm doing wrong.
You should see the world champions now in the background, because that's what I'm looking at on VC. Yeah, no, I think it's definitely
on my side, I think.
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely your side.
I can't see anything. Okay, I'll just keep trying. Thank you. Thanks all.
Okay. Oh, shucks. Oh, that is a worry, because also the sound was dodged, so there's definitely something not great there. Right, just to carry on from where I was, what is absolutely essential in terms of this exam is your integration of the theory and the application. So if we look at the guideline here, your knowledge and analysis, so essentially taking, and please give me a solid theoretical foundation. And then in terms of that, they are going to give us a word limit. I don't know whether he's given a word limit here. They should give you a word limit. But my attitude is always is answer the question. Don't write. I think what worries me sometimes is people have the perfect answer, and then what happens is that they go and mess it up by putting in unnecessary nonsense. Yeah, no, it's changed slightly. Yeah. So it's 2 marks, 2 questions per exam. So what has happened is they've changed my submission in terms of that. Yeah, why would there be 2 questions per exam? All questions, 20 times 6. No, there are 3 questions per exam. There are 3 questions per exam. So, yeah, sorry, there are 3 questions per exam. So each question would be 10 marks, 5 marks, 5 marks. My apologies. So, yes, I definitely set 3 questions per exam as well. Okay, so the first question would have 3 sub-questions. The second question would have 3 sub-questions, if that makes any sense. And each of those sub-questions would be 20. That makes sense? I hope it does. So there are 2 questions. Each question, each scenario would have 3 sub-questions. And then obviously key in terms of those sub-questions is that I try not just ask from one learning unit. I try and integrate the different learning units, because it is an honors level, postgraduate level subject. So key in terms of the knowledge and analysis, for me, what gives you marks there will always be the idea that, first of all, you use the right theory. And you can only use the right theory when you've done a proper analysis of the content. So if anyone has seen, and I don't know if it's happened in this class, but I have a standard response in terms of my library of responses that says relevance with a question mark, or please check your interpretation of the theory. And that means somebody has not given the right theory, that they've wandered off track and they focused on the wrong theory in trying to answer the core elements of the question. So getting your theories right explaining your theories well based on what is in the actual scenario becomes very, very, very important. And then your substantiation, that would be the application bits that bring the theory to life. So that the substantiation for me is how you actually show that you understand the theory in relation to the case study. And then the overall comprehensiveness is really, have you answered the entire question? Please don't go overboard and start writing rubbish because you want to impress with volume. For me, the simple answer is answer the question. I don't believe that any of the questions should take more than a page. If you're writing more than a page of question, you are going a little bit overboard. But that's a general rule of thumb. Rather just answer the question. But I think a page of question is about reasonable. So please be careful not to put rubbish in simply because you now think that you need to build the word count. But also, don't write a paragraph per question. And I've seen that happen when people run out of time and they start panicking. Right. Well, if they're going to use a paraphrasing tool, if they're going to plagiarize, if they don't put in a reference list, if they don't have in-text references, I will absolutely give them 0. Tokwana, I have no issue to give people 0, but I mean, it's only when you've done something really silly. Please also note, I don't give marks for direct quotes. I will not allocate a single mark to a direct quote. Everything has to be paraphrased. No direct quotes. It's a pity they've not said it on here, but on the paper itself, I say to the markers and I say to the students that you don't get marks for direct quotes, because what often happens with these take-home exams, and it really has been my intervention, is that people just copy out of the textbook and then put inverted commas around it and put a page number in. So for me, that is a no-go. Please also make sure that you reference properly. Please also make sure that you're not silly and leave out a reference list. It is an absolute pain when you leave out a reference list, because what happens is you get 0. And then if you're lucky, they'll allow you to add in a reference list, and then they cap you at 50%. And if you've already been capped previously, you will get 0 for the exam. So please, please, please be very careful with that. So the first one, honestly, what I've done there is I've made very sure that you have plenty of material to work with in terms of the questions. Yeah, and I think here, just that bit also suggests to me that I'd be very surprised if it's not a change management question in there. Right, this one is interesting, and I don't know if anyone had seen this case, but it essentially is Mediclinic overcharging people and overcharging medical aids, and somebody internally noticed that this was happening and blew the whistle. Now, in terms of that, the idea is that whistleblowers essentially serve an essential function in South Africa. It's very dangerous in South Africa to be a whistleblower because you immediately labeled impimpi, and we've seen whistleblowers in Eskom being killed and whistleblowers in government being killed because of speaking out. So for me, I definitely think this will be an ethics question. I'd be very surprised if it's not ethical leadership. So if we go here, just to go through what I did previously, ethical, okay. Why is it not picking up the search? You want me to go and search for you now. Okay, so it's that one, ethical leadership. So please remember to look for that. And I know it's silly to show people at a postgraduate level this, but I would then go ethical again, and you should find it. There it is. Let's see where in here the actual, there it is. So there is the heading, and you should be absolutely fine from there. From there, you should be able to pick up where in the textbook it is. Can I also just say, trust my slides. Please trust my slides. I use the slides in the memo. The memo is based on my slides. So you have to trust my slides. Now, obviously, sometimes the slides may not be enough, and you might have to add in from the textbook. But the point of, or the departure point for me will always be my slides. Please do not use Google as your departure point, because I've seen such a mess, and people then, I've literally just marked an honors assignment where somebody had gone to Indeed, and Indeed gave completely inaccurate information. And it's not a peer-reviewed site. Indeed is a blog. It's an opinion by people. It's not peer-reviewed. So please don't default to Google and finding the answers. Default to my slides. And if you then want to add in, just remember, if you're going to do ethical leadership, and I have shown people this before, and you are going to use Google, if you use Google Scholar, that's fine. I prefer to do this. I go ethical leadership, and you want to type in scholarly articles. So for me, you'll see there will be plenty options in terms of ethical leadership there. So please don't use your it irritates me so much, it irks me so much. Please don't use Google as your default setting. My slides should be your default setting. If we go there, I can't think, and we can clearly see their values there. Again, I've given plenty of meat for people to answer it. Oh, for crying out loud, Justine, I've sent it through to them. What is, sorry, I'm going to have a massive meltdown with these people. I'll go see what's going on again. I sent it through to them because I cannot, I don't want to lament, but on SIS, I can't save. So I can't actually load it myself. And this subject doesn't even appear on my SIS system. So they had to load it, and I gave them a comprehensive list. Sorry, I'm tense now. Right. Yeah, soaring impact of single-use plastics. So yeah, immediately you can see we're going to talk about sustainability. I would imagine there's some ethical leadership in here. I would imagine that there would be some authentic change leadership type questions. Again, what I've done is I've given you a lot to work with. You can see how long these case studies are. So for me, and I know that it's an exam, but it's still an honors exam, and you need to do a bit of reading. Please remember to always read the actual questions first before you read the case studies. Yeah, I'd be very surprised if it's not responsible, ethical, change leadership, those kinds of things jump out at me immediately. So have a glance at that one. The truth is, a lot of information. I honestly give an overabundance of information for you to work from. Now, also important in terms of that information to be very selective and make sure that you have the right theories, but you also have the right application stuff to match the theories. Yeah. And the idea of the CEO being asked to stay on, you'll see that there's a lot of leadership and the focus around management versus leadership, and then also to look at the sort of great man approach to leadership. And I know I'm being sexist when I say great man. You'll also see elements of change management and change leadership in there as well. And again, you'll see that I've given you a lot of information there. I really have given a lot of information. I also think in terms of succession and succession planning, I would imagine that there's something around leadership training in there as well. So have a glance at that. And then, yeah, this one is definitely something around transformational change leadership. It is, again, leadership versus management, what is important, yeah, and visionary leadership and strategic leadership would be very much part of that kind of question. So I'd be very surprised if I didn't ask a question on strategic leadership there as well. And again, just to show how easy it is if we are going to look for, and I know this is so pathetic that I'm showing people this, but if you were to go look for strategic leadership and you're struggling to find it, you'd go strategic, strategic. Gotta love it when it doesn't happen. Okay, you have to love that. Don't want to know, don't want to think. So there it is, strategic leadership, learning unit 3, theme 3, and that should point you to where to find your answers. No dramas with that. And then again, this is so sad that I'm doing this. My apologies. Find, and it would be strategic, but I think the entire unit is about strategic leadership, so not to worry about that one. And then, yeah, climate activists, and you'll see the idea of people rebelling against Standard Bank in particular for supporting carbon-based forms of energy, and the notion that they are being green, and again the honesty about what they're saying, whether there's not a bit of greenwashing involved there. If you don't know what greenwashing is, just look it up. Also look at questions about ethics is very, very much part of this stuff. Yeah, it's quite a dodgy one. So there's definitely stuff about ethicality that will come into that one as well. And that is that. So those are the 6 questions. May I ask whether we would? So the I don't have a heck of a lot of content to work from, so you should be able to steal stuff out of your assignments, Edel, and use it in here, if that makes any sense. So the chance of seeing something that has been an assignment are very, very good. And you can then simply just copy the theory from there and just do the application. But I don't know if that's what you're asking me. So yes, you are likely to see something, not very, but you may run into stuff that was covered in an assignment. And then I'm happy for you to not kill yourself and simply just copy your theory out. Okay. Can I also just say, I don't care about the 25% overlap, guys. I honestly, I don't care about it. The only time you need to be worried about the 25% and the actual percentage in terms of similarity is if you've done something silly. I don't care if it's 40%. I will check it if it's 40%, but please don't try and go and paraphrase and reword and I don't know what people do that really destroy their assignments and their exams because they're worried that they're at 30%. I really don't care about that. As long as you've not done anything dodge, then I wouldn't worry about that percentage whatsoever. I don't care what the other lecturers say either, to be honest with you. That is my approach to that. Unless you've done something really questionable, do not worry about the percentage. And the reason I say that is I've seen people take really, really good work and try and paraphrase and rephrase and state things in different tenses just to avoid the 25%. I'm not, 25% doesn't bother me. Safe assign is not a sharp measuring instrument. And then obvious things, guys. No paraphrasing bloody tool. It's for me, it's straightforward cheating. You should be expelled when you do that. And if you do silly things, and we've seen all the cheats, people putting invisible spaces between letters and putting extra symbols in and making it invisible. Honestly, it's irritating when I have to go and check, and I know that it's not going to happen in this class. Any questions? Is anyone nervous for the exam? Is anyone nervous for the exam? Why, Tiang? No, I think a little bit of nerves, but honestly, the clues are obvious. Yeah. Debs, but also remember to use your time efficiently, because they say they release at midnight the night before, but truthfully, it is normally released around 10 o'clock. Okay, that's good, Ams. Yeah. Why wouldn't you finish? I hope you've taken time off, but you work for a good organization now. You should take time off. You shouldn't not finish the exam. Holy guacamole. That I'm not so